All right, back with Mark Pancrath, Josh Ward, Will West. As I said, I was going to do the prediction because the Adu thing, the way that Barnes handled it and just said, I don't know, just left. And then the same thing with Cameron Carr. I'm like, he's 70. I'm surprised he's gone this long, and he's doing it better than ever. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's done for Tennessee. I've said for years he's the best coach they've ever had. I don't think there's even an argument at this point he's the best coach they've ever had. That said, I do wonder about his longevity. Him and Tom Izzo both, two guys who've had great success. You look around, how many coaches just said, I've had enough, I'm out. Mark, we were talking this week, and you said, I wonder about Rick Barnes' future. So I'm going to ask you, thoughts on, I know you were looking at the roster, Jim Larrañaga.
Yeah.
Give people here your thoughts. What were you telling me?
I know that as a coach, you like the challenge. You want to end on a high note. You want and hopefully we can make a long run and you can ride off in the sunset. But you got to look at the age piece of it. His coaching staff is really good, but at what point are they going to say, Gainey? At what point is he going to say, I'm going to go be a head coach somewhere? And then you just look at the NIL stuff that y'all have already talked about. And the big piece that I look at is Zakai Ziegler, Meshack. I mean, all the seniors that are leaving.
Ziegler, Milicic, Gainey, Meshack, Lanier, and Dubai were both fifth-year guys. So I guess I don't argue about eligibility anymore because Lord knows who's going. No, he's got a Spanish influenza year still with him. He can go 8 years. But I do wonder about all these guys. That's a lot to replace for a guy who's 70 years old and has already been, done it all.
Yeah, I just think that it's going to happen sooner or later. Maybe it happens after the end of this year. If they don't have the year that they're on track to have and they go out early, that competitiveness comes in. But I just look at having to rebuild an entire roster is a big challenge in this climate that they're dealing with. And they've struck gold 2 years in a row. You got to wonder, can you keep getting the Chaz Laniers and the Dalton Connects type of players to have the success that doesn't often happen when they do hit the portal?
You got to wonder if he's one of these guys who simply can't. Again, I'm not trying to push him out the door. It'd be a bad thing for Tennessee when he does walk away. But you do wonder if he's one of these guys, like Belichick. It's like, they're not going to give me an NFL job. I'll go coach college for the first time in my life. Some guys, players, coaches, it's all they know. Yep. I was surprised Nick Saban said, I'm out. I thought he would coach till he was in a casket. You guys, your thoughts on Rick Barnes? The end is coming at some point. Do you think we're getting there, or Mark and I are kind of jumping the gun on this a little?
Well, it's funny because the Belichick to North Carolina thing actually recently made me think I can't rule out anything when it comes to talk of what a coach might do one way or the other. So you can tell me Rick will coach for a few more years. I'd say, okay. Because Belichick's jumping into it. But I've personally thought, okay, could it line up with Zakai Ziegler? Because they have such a special connection. Zakai's so important with what they've done culturally, I think, with the program. Jemai Meshack, too, in the last couple of years. And we believe this is it for Zakai from an eligibility standpoint. So if this is it, nobody should be surprised. I know Tennessee would love Rick to be the guy as long as possible.
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes, but I also don't know that he knows right now if he wants to retire. Now, one thing that is
like Larrañaga, did he think 2 months ago, I'm out in the middle of the season?
Well, also, if Larrañaga has a winning record right now, is Larrañaga still there? You know what I mean?
So, the guy was in the, Final Four 2 years ago?
Yeah, and 8 of those players came from the NIL transfer portal thing with their NIL collective, and then it's like, oh, well, this is just too much. Well, got you to a Final Four, pal. Like, God love you.
Yeah, but that's a great example, though. He just had the heights of it, and he's still sick of it.
Yeah. Now he's dealing with but while he's dealing with the lows,
you got the up 1 year, you get the down. How long until Rick Barnes has one of those where you bring in a bunch of guys and the chemistry doesn't mesh,
right?
And they're no longer in it to. I mean, he builds on culture. He builds a program.
Yeah.
If he starts having to build from scratch year in and year out, where's the culture part of that?
Well, there's no program; it's a team. It's what Tom Brady said to Stephen A. Smith at Fanatics Fest. No longer, you're not a program; you're a team. And that's what can happen. I don't know that he will go. One thing that's interesting when you guys brought that up, though, when we were talking off the air, Rick Barnes has been doing a lot of public speaking events, especially faith-based things, just this past off season. That didn't, and people who would normally had said, just came up to me and said, we had a chance to get Rick Barnes to speak at this thing this year. That's pretty awesome. We have, and they didn't have those opportunities at churches and things like that in the past and at conferences. So maybe he's setting up for himself like Saban did the TV thing. This is, whether it's this year or another year, this is the thing I'm going to do afterwards. is maybe do more faith-based speaking and things
I mean, you
like
can
that.
pull out the Rolodex, and there's not one guy that is left that is near his age that has said, I wish I would have stayed.
Yeah.
I mean, you call those guys, and they're all making maybe not as much money, but they're making a good living on
how much-
TV, and you're not doing what they're having to do to build the roster and deal with it all.
And how much money has Rick Barnes already made? I don't think he's. I know everybody wants to continue to make $10 million a year, or $5 million a year in his
But
case.
I think
but still,
these coaches, especially Barnes, they're at a stage of life where it's about impact.
Yeah.
It's not even about wins and losses. And if you have a guy in your program for 6 to 8 months, how much impact are you really making in a kid's life? Which that's what coaching
Right.
used to be, and that's what Barnes loves about it. These guys now that are truly in it for impact, not notoriety, that's why I think they'll start to lean to get out, because you can't have that impact.
and that's kind of what I was getting at with the culture thing. It's like
Yeah.
he builds it one way, and if that one way goes away to where he can't have the impact on the kid, to where it's not just a team. All right, this is our team for this year. Next year we'll have a completely new team from scratch. Why would he want to continue? But look, don't start putting it on social
We
media.
hope you stay, Rick. We
Yeah,
hope you
Sports
stay.
Source tried to drive him away. No. Best thing ever happened to Tennessee basketball, period, without question, in my opinion. So, no, hope he coaches for a long, long time. When we come back, let's look ahead to another guy who hasn't walked away and has had opportunity. Could have just said, yeah, after Kentucky, I'm just going to retire. John Calipari is coming back with Arkansas and with Jonas Adu. Let's discuss. Come on back.